What seemingly harmless habit do people severely underestimate, even though it actually harms them in the long run? The desire to please others. If it's more important to you that everyone around you is okay, even at the expense of your own well-being, it will come back to haunt you. Eventually, you'll start getting angry at people because they, as you perceive it, aren't trying as hard, when in reality you're just overdoing it. Take care of yourself, otherwise you won't be able to truly take care of others. Learn to set and maintain healthy boundaries as soon as possible. I also gradually realized that you can become so accustomed to pleasing others that at some point you don't even understand what you want yourself. Whether it's choosing a restaurant or making a decision related to your career and family. I heard a phrase, I don't remember who the author is, we show people how to treat us. It's a good reminder, especially when meeting new people. And sometimes you need to treat a person the way they treat others, only making the minimum monthly payments on loans. That way, the interest will work against you. It's very difficult to convince my wife to pay more than required on the mortgage. Apparently, if you make 13 monthly payments a year, that is, add one extra payment completely towards the principal, you can close a 30-year mortgage in about 18 years. Staying in a relationship where you are unhappy. I saw it on Reddit once. Don't hold on to a mistake just because you spent a lot of time making it. Holding back and not going to pee because you're working and don't have time for it. I'll add, being so busy that you don't poop. I had to treat a lot of people with constipation that was caused by their own behavior. Then it all develops into more serious problems. And let kids poop normally. I had patients aged 9-15 with fecal incontinence because they had been holding it in for too long. It's a terrible experience for a child. As a teacher, you quickly learn to appreciate the opportunity to go to the toilet and understand how important it is to allow students to do so. Some teachers push children to awful situations. I've met teachers who didn't recognize that a girl had started her period. Such mistakes are remembered forever. Constantly listening to music on headphones at full volume. I actually did that, and it still haunts me to this day. Doomscrolling really messes up your brain. On social media in general, these small doses of dopamine steal your daily supply of pleasure from more useful things. At the same time, they reduce concentration, cause the feeling that others' lives are better than yours. All this can lead to depression and anxiety, especially when you hardly interact with people in person, but talk more and more with random people on the internet. Instead of just doing something where you'll actually meet and really talk to a person, thinking it's polite to avoid difficult topics. In fact, we should learn how to talk about them appropriately in different situations. By keeping silent, you only let the problem stagnate and grow. Not using sunscreen. I live in Spain, and damn, people here age incredibly quickly. Seeing a 30-year-old woman who looks like a crumpled copper coin is normal here. Always working overtime and not taking days off. Last week the weather was great. My husband has Wednesdays off, and on Tuesday he suggested take a day off. Let's go for a walk together. I doubted it at first. We don't have enough people, a lot of work and some deadlines. Usually, we don't have any. But I thought, life is too short. I asked my boss if I could take a day off because it will be sunny tomorrow. He said, of course, I have a wonderful boss. Only going to the doctor when things are already bad or the problem has dragged on. Because of this, the chance of detecting serious diseases in the early stages is greatly reduced. If you don't go to the doctor until the very last moment, holding emotions in for too long. At the same time, this behavior can hurt your partner very much. You just don't want to rock the boat. But in the end, it all pours out in anger and in words that you later regret. Expecting people to treat you the same way you treat them. Many people try their best for those who only remember them when they need something, but never give anything in return. It was my weakness. I gave everything for people I liked, and then I felt worthless when they didn't even want to just talk. Constantly saying yes to everyone and everything seems like a polite and helpful habit. But over time it becomes exhausting, causes irritation and burnout, and you don't even notice how you got to this state. People who constantly sweep problems under the rug to maintain peace. In fact, no peace is maintained that way, only a mountain of grievances accumulates, which at some point destroys the relationship, either because of toxicity or because of complete indifference. And then the person who wants to discuss the problem seems like someone who can't let go. Please, learn to talk about difficult things constructively. Sitting on the toilet for too long. Please explain. I want to give my husband arguments about this. I sat in the toilet for 30 minutes every day and ended up getting an anal fissure. It's one of the most painful things that doesn't go away on its own. I tried everything to relieve the pain, but nothing helped. After a year and a half of suffering, I decided to have surgery, and it was even more painful. I couldn't even walk for several days. I won't even mention how to go to the toilet afterward. I sat in the toilet for so long because it was my only place where I could hide and relax a bit from my two young sons. Now my wife and I have agreed that if one of us is having a hard time, we talk about it and replace each other. 30 minutes of peace is not worth such suffering at all. Staying close to toxic people just because you share DNA. Finishing the last bite, even if you're already full. It seems like, well, just a couple of spoons, but that way you can train your body to overeat, and in the long run, it will lead to weight gain and related mental problems. Financial illiteracy, living without budgeting, living on credit. Everyone seems to know that it's bad, but when they get to real adult life, these same people turn out to be completely unprepared for it. Jerking off to relieve tension is one thing, but drooling over your junk 4 times a day, going into a trance and imagining you're frying all the beauties around is not good for the psyche. Lack of sleep. I had chronic sleep deprivation for a long time, and I can confirm, at some point you stop feeling it, but sleep deprivation is like living half dead. This thing hits your health, mood, and brain hard. I remember in winter, school lessons sometimes started later than usual, so everyone on the bus said that I became a completely different person after just 2 extra hours of sleep. They just didn't recognize me. That's how patient and kind I was. Rushing children. This creates chronic anxiety in them for life, which, by the way, is confirmed by research. This thing even has a name, hurried child syndrome. Parents don't understand how serious this is. Drinking hot water with lemon every day. At a friend's dental appointment, it turned out that after many years of this healthy habit, her enamel had almost completely eroded. Ignoring stretching. You need to stretch every day. Not necessarily all muscle groups at once, but during the day work on each one for at least 30 seconds, anywhere and anytime. Integrate this habit into your routine. Waiting for the toast to brown. Stretch your chest and shoulders. Legs. Stand in a wide stance. Do something, anything. Stretching is a light pain that helps avoid much stronger pain later. Losing fishing lures. This leaves behind kilometers of plastic fishing line that entangles wildlife and remains in the water for decades. If you dive in mass fishing locations, there will naturally be a dump underwater. Regularly eating poorly. In addition to weight gain and terrible test results, this behavior can cause depression, anxiety, sleep problems, weakened immunity, etc. Healthy eating is always a justified and reasonable investment. Asking chat a million questions a day and thinking it's your new best friend. Procrastination. Just get yourself used to getting down to business right away. I say this as someone with ADHD who thought the only way to do something was to wait until the last minute. Habits are important things. They're what make you act before you realize you're acting. Neglecting drinking. I have migraines, and although water itself doesn't cure them, it helps a lot in the long run. The doctor said that if migraines don't have a genetic cause, they most often start with dehydration and then everything only gets worse. Negative self-talk. Edited. For those who struggle with this, here are some helpful thoughts. The opposite of negative self-talk is not necessarily positive. Sometimes it's just a rejection of value judgments. The phrase "I did it wrong, next time I'll do it differently" is much healthier than "I did it wrong, so I'm a bad person." Self-education can change a lot. There are many studies on this topic. One of them showed that negative self-talk can briefly improve the result, but in the long run reduces cognitive brain functions. If you feel ashamed of your laziness, you should check if you have ADHD. The phrase "if I can do it, then I have to, otherwise I'm a loser" is a classic example of executive dysfunction. One wise woman once said, if you don't understand whether you have executive dysfunction or you're just lazy, ask yourself, do you feel guilty for not doing it? A lazy person rejoices when they don't have to do anything. Stopping negative self-talk doesn't mean not thinking negatively. The point is what we do when such thoughts come. There's an interesting idea in the Bible about this. Take every thought captive and make it obedient. There's common sense in this. We can't directly control our thoughts. No one can. But we can learn to notice them and choose how to react to them. And that's the key. The very act of classifying thoughts changes the composition of our thoughts over time. As James Clear writes in Atomic Habits, every action, every decision is a vote for the kind of person you become. Changes don't happen immediately, but you can start voting differently, and the result will exceed expectations. Negative self-talk is ineffective for learning, even if it doesn't seem that way to you. Daniel Kahneman in Thinking, Fast and Slow, writes about regression to to the mean. There's a lot of research showing that positive reinforcement teaches much better than negative reinforcement. But many notice a pattern. If I scold myself for a bad result, I get better. If I praise the result, it's worse. In most cases, this is true, but the reason is different. In both cases, the behavior was an exception. If a student consistently gets a 4 out of 5 and then suddenly gets a 3, most likely, next time they'll get a 4 again, regardless of whether they were scolded or praised. The same is true in the opposite direction. A non-standard result, whether good or bad, is by definition an exception. This means that regardless of how we react to it, the next result will most likely regress to the mean, that is, it will be closer to the usual level. All this is to say that when we scold ourselves for a failure, the next time we will generally show a better result. And when we praise ourselves for a great success, next time we are likely to achieve less. Therefore, the point is not that self-blame works, but to recognize the psychological effect and change your attitude towards yourself based on it. When we make a mistake, we should tell ourselves, "This was not in my style, next time I'll do better." And when we achieve success, it's important to accept it, realize that perhaps next time it won't be so brilliant, but it's still a step forward. And many such steps ultimately change the whole path. Thank you very much for watching.